Hey gang, what's up? Welcome back here to another edition of The Fishing Teacher. Thanks for taking a little time to check today's video out, much appreciated. Today we're going to give you guys some tips and advice on fishing small swim baits, the little bitty swim baits that are more known as for the finesse techniques. Now, we've talked a little bit about swim baits in the past, but not about the specific applications for these little bitty ones. So we're going to go into that in detail. I think you guys will add up to some good fish for you guys coming up over the next year. Okay guys, the two that I want to talk about here is the Megabass 3-inch spark shad and the Megabass Hazendong shad, the 3-inch Hazendong shad. Now the difference in here, you can see that one's a little bit fatter than the other one. This one's a little bit thinner, so the profile's a little bit different. And also guys, if you're interested in getting some of these, all the stuff I'm talking about, you can get them at Bait Works in Springfield, Missouri, and I'll include the link in the description where you guys can get them if you want to try out some. So anyway, the main way that I want to talk about fishing them today is on a jig head. Now specifically, I like, again, this is the Megabass Okashira jig head. It's sort of got like a fish head design, and it's pretty simple. You just rig it straight through the head. And one of the things, guys, if you've never fished a little swim bait before, is when you come through the body of the bait and really try to stay in the center of it. It's very important that you take your time and you get that hook coming out right in the center, because what that does, if you don't get the swim bait right in the center of the bait, it'll run crooked off to one side like that. So it's really critical. Like you can see, I got it right in the middle there. Just take your time to get it in the middle, and that'll cause that swim bait to run straight through the water. So on both of these, on both the Hazendong shad and the spark shad, this is how I rig it, usually on this 1/8 ounce Okashira jig head. Now, most of the time I'm fishing it on 6-pound test fishing line, 6-pound test Seaguar Vizex I like. And these guys are killers for clear water. So if you're fishing any type of body water that has over 3 feet of visibility, that's sort of what you need. It's a clear water situation, so you want to make sure you have at least 3 foot of visibility with that. Now, as far as the areas to fish them in, they work in a lot of different situations. One of the best ones that you cannot go wrong on is any type of a point. If the lake or body of water that you has some type of a point, just get out in that point anywhere between, say, 10 to 30 foot of water, depending on how clear it is. The clearer the water, the deeper the fish could possibly be, or they might be suspended. If the water is closer to that 3 feet zone, try to concentrate like in the 5 to 10 foot zone. But throw it out there, and the first thing you want to do is when you throw it out there, just let it go to the bottom and just start slow reeling and try to keep it close to the bottom. You don't really want it hitting the bottom, but you want to sort of visualize the bait being just maybe a foot or so off the bottom. So what I like to do is when I throw it out there, let it hit the bottom, and I'll reel it for maybe 5 or 10 cranks, and I'll stop it and let it go to the bottom and start reeling again, and it'll pick it up off the bottom. And that's one real good way to catch them. Now, the other way to catch them is if you have real clear water. A lot of times the fish will come up on the swim bait, or the fish are suspended. So if I can't get them on the bottom, another technique I'll try is I get out of there off the point and I just fan cast around, and I'll start out, when I fan cast first time, I'll let it hit the water, then I'll count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 before I start reeling, and then I'll just start slow cranking. I'll try that for maybe 10 or 15 casts. If that doesn't work, I'll throw it out there, and this time I'll count to 10. Let it, count to 10 before I start reeling it. And by experimenting like that, a lot of times you can find out that the depth that the fish are suspended at. That's one good way to do it. Now, another really good way to catch these fish on these, especially with the thinner Hazendong shad, let me rig up a jig head here and I'll show you, is to fish it around bridge piers. Now, most every lake that you go to has bridges on it, and guys, fish, not just bass, but all fish love to suspend around those bridge piers. Doesn't make any difference how deep the water is under them, but taking this little Hazendong shad like this and throwing it right next to the piers, as close as you can get to it. And again, you have to count it down and find the fish at the depth of the fish. I'll usually throw it out there. I'll throw it past the pier and try to reel it as close to the pier as I can get. And I'll start out again, count to 5, then count to 10, and work all the way around the piers. And a lot of times those fish they congregate around those piers because there's algae on the piers, and the shad will come and try to eat the algae off the side of those piers, and that's why there's bass there. And sometimes also, if the water's really clear, the fish will suspend between them. So say you have a bridge that has 5 or 6 piers going across the whole lake. Sometimes they get in the middle between the 2 piers, so you can also try fan casting around that. And also, finally, guys, another good way to catch them on the little swim bait is around deeper boat docks. If you have some docks that are like marina docks that are floating docks over deeper water, sometimes those fish will suspend next to those docks, and you can swim the little swim bait along the side and catch them like that. And then again, if you guys don't fish lakes and you're fishing creeks and rivers and ponds, they're not that great in ponds because ponds usually have water a little bit off-colored, but they are good if you fish some type of clear water rivers or creeks, especially if they have smallmouth or spotted bass in them. So anyway, guys, give them a try. Little finessey swim baits. Get you a lot of bites. They're not necessarily big fish lures, but they will get you a lot of bites. And also, you never know what you're going to catch on them, man. You'll catch crappie, walleye, white bass, drum, catfish, about any type of a fish will hit them. So there's a really good way to catch fish. So hope it helps out. We'll see y'all later.